It's Ash from Super Videos, back for another video for Season 8 of The Walking Dead. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the titles and synopsis for the first 3 episodes of the 8th season, which were just released, I think, yesterday or the day before. So, the titles and synopsis comes from We Got This Covered. I'll leave a link in the description. But the title and synopsis of the first episode was actually released earlier, so that's on AMC. And, I'll go through that as well quickly. I did talk about this before, but I'll go through this again as well. So the first episode, it's going to be called Mercy, and that's the premiere of Season 8, obviously. And, we kind of discussed what Mercy could be, and I have a separate video just talking about that, but generally speaking, I think Mercy may be an Easter egg for what happens at the end of the war. And I'll just leave it at that. So the synopsis of the first episode reads, Rick and his group, along with the Kingdom and Hilltop, have banded together to bring the fight to Negan and the Saviors. So of course we know this war is going to be kickstarted, and we have Kingdom, Hilltop, and Alexandria versus Saviors and Scavengers. Based on the synopsis, we know that the survivors, meaning Hilltop, Kingdom, and Alexandria, are going to take this fight to Negan. So it indicates that they're going to attack first. So that's for the first episode, and that comes from AMC.com. Now, the title and synopsis for the other 2 episodes come from We Got This Covered. So the second episode is going to be called The Damned. Very interesting title. I don't know what to make of that. Maybe it's an episode looking at the Saviors, and, maybe we'll spend some time with the Saviors, and that's why it's called The Damned. But the synopsis reads, the plan involving Alexandrians, Kingdomers, and Hilltoppers unfolds. As Rick continues to fight, he encounters a familiar face. So the first bit is not really too revealing, because obviously we know that the Alexandrians, Kingdomers, and Hilltoppers are going to be involved in this war, fighting against Negan and the Saviors. But the part that's very interesting is that it says Rick encounters a familiar face. Now, who could that familiar face be? There's a couple people, but I think it's going to be tough to kind of predict. The first character it could be is the obvious one, which is Heath. Obviously, we know Heath is missing. We don't know what happened to him, but he is supposed to come back at some point. Now, if this is in fact Heath, it does kind of contradict with something Scott Gimple said, because he said that we might not see Heath in this season, and it's very unlikely for us to see him. So if he's going to say that, why would they come out in the synopsis of second episode and say that Rick comes across a familiar face? And Heath is the first character fans think of. So why would Scott Gimple say that? So that leaves me to think that it's most likely not going to be Heath. The next character it could be is Sherry. So we obviously know Sherry left. So will Rick come upon Sherry? It's going to be interesting to see. Now, one thing I want to mention, I don't even know Rick knows about Sherry. I know Daryl does, but I don't even know if Rick knows who Sherry is. So it might be Sherry, but it kind of wouldn't make sense for Rick to find her and, for that to make sense. Off the top of my head, I can't think of any other characters. If you guys can think of more characters, let me know in the comment section below. But it's going to be very interesting to see who this mystery character is going to be. And maybe after episode 1, we'll know more, and maybe we'll have a better prediction about who this mystery character could be. The next episode, episode 3, is going to be called Monsters. Again, another interesting title, because the previous one was called The Damned, which I think is referring to the Saviors, and here it's called Monsters, which could again be referring to the Saviors. So, interesting titles here, because we have Mercy and then The Damned and then Monsters here. So it's going to be interesting to see what those titles are referring to and what they mean if we look at the overall picture. So the synopsis of the third episode is, conflict with the Saviors leads to unintended consequences for the Hilltop, the Kingdom, and Alexandria. Morality proves tricky in wartime. So another interesting title, but what is definitely certain is that there's going to be something to do with morality. And the theme of this episode is most likely going to be morality. Now, what I think is that some Saviors who are not necessarily fighters, but just working people at the sanctuary, are going to come to Alexandria or Hilltop or Kingdom and ask to join them. And basically say that we don't want to have anything to do with this war and this fight. And maybe that's what this is referring to. Maybe Ezekiel at the kingdom, Rick at Alexandria, and Maggie at the hilltop have to make this tricky decision that involves morality, whether they're going to accept these so-called enemy members into their territory and invite them in this time of war. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's just where my head goes with this specific synopsis. And that's basically it for the title and synopsis for the first 3 episodes. Very interesting titles. And, some of the synopses are very interesting as well. They do kind of hint at some things that might happen. Now, obviously, the return is going to be October 22nd. Can't wait for it. That's it for this video. See you next time for another super video.